So we managed to scale this outdoor brand from zero to over $400,000 in sales in only 8 months using primarily TikTok ads from a fresh TikTok account. And I want to show you exactly what we did to achieve this. My name is Caleb and I am the owner of Creative Talk. We're an agency that actually works with providing good quality creative and ad management for TikTok for other brands. And if you know what you're doing, TikTok is an extremely powerful ad platform. So let's just get right into it. I want to explain everything that we did for this specific brand. So in this video, what I'm going to cover is I want to first talk about some of the foundations. So some of the prerequisites, some things that you need to do before you actually start advertising. The second, I want to talk a little bit about the creative that we used and the strategy we used with creative. Next, I want to talk about our testing strategy, what we did to test the ads that we were actually going to eventually scale, and then what we did to actually scale the ads. So let's get started. So first, let's start with some of the foundations. So there are two essential elements that are needed on TikTok to be successful, and this is regardless of whatever your ad strategy is. You could have the most perfect media buyers that know exactly what they're doing with media buying, but if you don't have these two solid foundations down, you're not going to be successful on this platform. So it's super important that you take note of this. The first is a constant flow of high quality creative. It is so important, and I can't emphasize enough how much creative that you need. However much creative you think you need, you probably need more, because with TikTok, there's two problems. One, the ads fatigue really quickly. So even if you have a really good ad, it might not last very long on the platform because the ads just don't last very long. And having high quality creative allows your ads to withstand that ad fatigue a lot longer. So you'll be able to run it for a lot longer before it fatigues. And the second is that you really need to test a lot on this platform. Even if you think you have a good creative, you never know if it's actually going to be successful or not unless you test it. And so you need to test a lot of different variations. The second is brand USPs. You need to have some sort of unique selling proposition for your brand. If you are just selling something that everyone else is selling, then you're not really going to have a lot of success on this platform. You need to give your customers a reason to actually buy your product. So for this brand specifically, the USPs that this brand had, and the reason we decided to work with them is because they were a very unique product. They had a game that worked outside. I'm not going to get into specifically what it was, but it was a game you play outside that I don't really know of any other competitors that it has. So that was a really good USP. And the second USP was that they had a very high average order value, which was over $100. So it made it a lot easier for it to be profitable when we were actually testing and scaling. So let's get into the creative now. So as I said before, the creative is the most important key to success with TikTok. You really need high quality creative because you are a lot less likely to get ad fatigue. So here is what our strategy was. And I'm going to make a separate YouTube video going a lot more into detail about creative on its own, because it's just so important that there are a lot of things that you need to learn with creative. But just to keep it really brief, here's the strategy we used. So we used a combination of organic UGC for top of funnel awareness. So organic style videos. So basically, if you're scrolling on your TikTok feed, we made videos to sort of blend in that you wouldn't even really guess it's an ad. We didn't have any direct call to actions in these videos. It was more just to get general brand awareness because this was a fresh TikTok account as well. And then we also paired that with 10 unique concept UGC that were made to convert. And we had many, many, many different variations of each of these unique concepts that allowed us to test as many variables as we wanted for each concept that we had. So that was the strategy we used. Again, the key here is to have lots of creative available. Because we were able to make variations of each concept, we had a ton of stuff to test from, and this really helped us in the long run. So how to get UGC? So to get user generated content, which is what UGC is, there are really two ways. You can search for the creators yourself. You can find creators on marketplaces like Facebook groups or Twitter, or you can just work with an agency like ours where we actually give the briefs and write the creative in a manner that's meant to convert. Okay, so moving on. Now let's go to the testing. So here's what we did to test for this brand. So we really had 3 different general targeting approaches. So really we were only targeting 3 specific groups. The first was broad interest targeting. So we had really large interests. We tried to have over 1 million people minimum in each of these interest groups of just things that related to the product. Then we had broad age specific. So this had no interest targeting at all. We were literally just testing the age range and the gender. And then we also had video interactions. So we were also targeting people who had already watched our organic content on the platform. Our campaign type was CBOs. ABOs work as well. We actually tested a little bit of both, but primarily for the testing phase, we just only did CBOs. We actually did ABOs more when we were scaling. Now, all optimizations were done at the ad set level. So any tweaks or any tests or anything, switching of variables, that was all done at the ad set level, not at the campaign level. So here is what our strategy was. And it's very simple. What we would do is we would just test each creative. We would wait until it hit between 6,000 to 8,000 impressions. We would then monitor the cost per click, the click-through rate, the cost per acquisition. And this is going to vary for every brand. Depending on what your brand is selling, you're going to have different metrics for each of these products. For example, if you have a really high AOV, if your product costs a lot to the customers and it's very high ticket, then you will be allowed to have a lot higher of a CPA, CPC, all of those numbers. So this would basically show us what needed to be cut and what needed to be scaled. So we would wait until it hit between 6,000 and 8,000 impressions. Then we would monitor all of the different KPIs. And if it was within the ranges that we needed, then we would scale it further. If not, we would just cut it and then test something new. So that was basically what we did for testing. And again, just to stress, the important part for the testing is just having a lot of variations of each of your creatives. So that way, if one thing, there were many instances for us, for example, where if one video that we tested was not working, we would test a different variation, maybe with a different hook or a different call to action, or maybe just like a different product showing within that same concept. And then that would actually work. So it's important to have a lot of variations that you can test. Next, for scaling. So here's what we did to scale. So we scaled in 2 of the primary ways. We scaled vertically. So for our vertical scaling, as long as the ads were profitable, we would just simply increase the CBO budget 10% every 1 to 2 days. And this is assuming it would maintain profitability within those 1 to 2 days. Then we would just increase the budget. If it maintained profitability, we would increase it again. And then we basically just did that the entire time. We also scaled horizontally as well. So what I mean by this is we would also duplicate our winning ad sets and audiences, and then we would just test different variables. So we were just really testing as much as possible. This was like a 24/7 process. We were just seeing what variables might enhance the current performance and just seeing basically as trying to get as much juice from the squeeze as possible with what we were working with. And this is what we did to scale. Okay, now just to summarize everything. So again, I just want to stress that none of this would have worked without good creative and lots of it to be able to test as many different things as possible. So the media buying strategies, everything that we did, I laid out in this video. So every single strategy I told you is what we did. And so it might seem simple. And if so, that's good because it should be simple. So with platforms like TikTok, the algorithm is so good. They have so much data that the algorithm sort of does a lot of the media buying for you. This is why so many of our targeting and so many of the groups that we were targeting were so broad and simple, is because as long as you have good creative and you have a good product, all you really need to do is get it in front of your customers' eyes. And TikTok knows very well how to get it in front of the right eyes because of how much data they have. So again, just want to stress that none of this would have worked if we didn't have good creative that was meant to convert and lots of stuff to test. The second lesson that I would say that we learned from scaling this brand is that TikTok is insane and you can get amazing results with TikTok, of course. But we saw even more success after doing multi-platform ads. So using the creative that we had for the TikTok videos and then using that to advertise as well on Facebook, Google, stuff like that. So whenever people tell you that Facebook is dead and that TikTok is the new wave, or that TikTok's dead and Facebook's the new wave, disregard any of that. We found the most success when we advertise on all of these platforms. TikTok creative works perfectly on Facebook, so there's really no reason why you shouldn't also test Facebook ads as well. And lastly, I just want to say, if you have a need for any creative, if you want high quality creative, or you just want us to manage your ads as well, just book a call with us. I would be happy to learn about your current situation, see if we can actually help you do that. The link is in the description. Other than that, I hope this video helped. This is exactly what we did to scale this brand from 0 to 400,000 in only 8 months. So if this did help, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will be happy to make more videos on this subject very, very soon.